Hello viewers at home and those of you tuning in from Facebook Live. Thank you once again for joining us on this episode of Dinner Guide. This evening I'm going to be showing you something very Indian and something very Oriental as well. We're going to be doing some Jeera Rice, and to that we're going to be pairing it with some Chicken Tikka Masala. Now we're going to start off firstly by introducing the ingredients to my right. And I'll start from the very front with a small container there with a bit of some coriander and some cumin seeds. I've also got some cardamom pods in there. We're also going to be using some garam masala, some tomato paste and some garlic cloves, about 5 to 6. You're also going to require some cinnamon, some paprika powder, some cumin powder, and last but not least, some cinnamon powder. You're also going to require some black pepper and 1 ginger root, about 2 limes and about half a cup of plain yogurt. You're also going to require some chicken, about 200 grams chopped up into cubes. I'm using breast for this recipe. You're also going to require some medium onions, 2 to 3 pieces should do, some fresh coriander and some basmati rice, some stock to cook with, some salt for seasoning, some turmeric for some color, and last but not least, some water which you'll be cooking your rice in, some oil as well to cook with, and last but not least, some coconut milk. So don't touch that dial. We'll be taking a very short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive right into it. So don't touch the dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just tuning in, we've just been introducing the dish of the day, Chicken Tikka Masala, which we're going to be pairing with some Jeera Rice. So very simple. We're going to start off by doing the Chicken Tikka Masala. For that you'll require a pan on the heat, and to that you'll proceed to add some cooking oil. About a tablespoon should do. And next up, we're going to proceed to just pound our dried, or rather our whole spices, and very simply in a pestle and mortar, proceed to pound everything together. Proceed also to grind them by moving your pestle right around. This should help you really break or rather pop those cardamom pods. And once you're done, proceed to add that to your pan. Next up, proceed to grab a very sharp knife and proceed to chop your garlic. So I'm going to be chopping this very coarsely. We're going to proceed to add that to the pan. Next up, we're going to proceed to grate some ginger, which I'm just going to do right over the pan. So we're looking for about a tablespoon of some ginger root, unpeeled of course. And proceed to finish grating your ginger root. And once you have just about a tablespoon worth of your ginger, you can proceed to stop and just clean out the bit of ginger remaining at the back of your grater. And Quick rinse of the hands. Proceed to grab your wooden spoon and begin to mix everything in your pan together. And just after your spices are nicely fragrant, and when your garlic and ginger is also very, very fragrant, we're going to proceed to add some onion. So I'll just very, very quickly just slide those into some half moon shapes. Of course, slicing as thin as you can. Discard the roots. Right, so about 1 medium-sized onion into your pan. At this stage, you can add also a very small dash of oil. Remember, your spices will actually absorb quite a bit of oil in the beginning, so do reserve a bit of oil just to add and proceed to fry everything together. Using your wooden spoon as well, proceed to break those rings of onion. And once that's almost cooked through, you will proceed to grab a small plate and pour that out. And we're going to just leave that on the plate. Remember, we actually just needed to use those to really give the pan a nice, beautiful fragrance and give it also a nice, beautiful flavor. Now, next up, we're going to proceed to add our chicken. So a little bit of oil once more. This should actually allow for you to color your chicken very easily. Next up, very importantly, to drain any water that should be in your bowl at this stage. And of course, also pay quite close attention to cleaning your chicken before you proceed to cook. Now add that into your pan. And using the same wooden spoon, proceed to fry your chicken. And of course, proceeding to fry until your chicken is fully coated. Now while that continues, I'm going to proceed to heat another pan, or rather small pot. And to that, we're going to be adding about a cup of water. Be sure to also season that very lightly with some salt. And you're going to give it just a few minutes to come to the boil, giving you a bit of time to continue to brown your chicken. Now, something also to remember, Jeera chicken is also it's actually quite a spicy dish. Something to remind for you viewers who may actually be cooking and you may actually be serving this to kids. Remember to go very easy on the hot spices, especially the paprika and the chili powder. It may actually make it very impossible for you and your kids to enjoy the dish. Proceed to fry your chicken. And at this stage, we're going to add our cumin powder, some of our garam masala, our cinnamon powder, and a bit of some cumin. Proceed to fry that together. tossing continuously. And you can now proceed to add your onions, garlic and ginger back to the pan. And now you can proceed to add a little bit of stock. This should actually help you to really get those flavors to combine in your pan, also allowing you to get your chicken to cook a little faster as well. Now you're going to proceed to cook that at high heat. And now you're going to proceed to add a bit of color to your dish. So about a teaspoon of turmeric powder will do. You can also alternatively use some saffron, which will actually give you a nice, beautiful, rich yellowness to the dish as well. So proceed to mix everything together in your pan. This should allow for you to really get that turmeric to really spread out into the dish, giving a nice, pleasant color. Right, at this stage I'm going to proceed to add the rest of my stock. And I'm using vegetable stock for this recipe. If you can actually be able to get a few minutes before cooking to actually do some chicken stock from the bones, also a very acceptable procedure for the recipe. Now just proceed to give your chicken one quick mix, allowing the liquid to spread out very evenly in your pan and your ingredients as well. And we're just going to allow that to come to the simmer. But while we do so, into our pot goes our basmati rice. So as I mentioned, I'm only using half a cup for this particular recipe. That should make only one portion. So if you're going to be making 2 or more portions for this recipe, you may actually want to put a reminder on your journal that it is actually just for one. And you may actually have to do some adjustments for cooking for more than one person for this dish. So to that, we're going to proceed to add some tomato paste. So I'm using about a teaspoon. And I'll also proceed to add my paprika powder, the rest of my cumin, a bit of some chaat masala, and a small pinch of garam masala once more. Now using your wooden spoon, just move your ingredients together in your pan and proceed to mix right up until you've got your proceed to mix until you actually have your tomato paste dissolving completely in the liquid. And now we're going to allow that to continue to simmer, giving our chicken a bit of time to cook. And now while your rice is already in, just very, very importantly, also another tip to share, you can actually flavor your rice a little bit by adding a bit of some finely chopped garlic. And the garlic will actually marry very well in the pot with the jeera to actually give it a very, very good flavor and aroma. So once chopped, proceed to add your chopped garlic to the pot with the rice. And also, if you actually can be able to find yourself some whole jeera seeds, you can actually proceed to use some. I'm going to be using the seeds for this recipe instead of the powder, so that it can actually be able to really permeate and give it a nice rich flavor. So very quickly, Proceed to grab your pestle and mortar. Begin to add about half a teaspoon of some jeera seeds. And using your pestle, proceed to move around, grinding that through. And proceed to add that to your pot with the rice. And now basically all you need to do is proceed to cook the chicken, allowing for the liquid to completely dissolve into the dish. Also allow for it to really reduce and give it a nice rich consistency. And we're going to proceed to add the ingredients to my right. But before we get that far, I will take this time to allow you one more break before we get to the last and final part of the show. We will also allow for our chicken to continue cooking, allow for the rice to also cook fully, and then we'll actually come back just before this is ready, just to show you the last and final steps of finishing this simple dish, and we will go straight to the plating. So please, this is one very, very simple reminder as well. Don't touch the dial. We'll be back after a very, very short while. See you then. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just catching up with the show, we've been working on a very simple chicken tikka masala. We've also got some jeera rice that's already cooked and ready to serve. So I'll just bring your attention back to this nice, beautiful mixture here. So now at this point, your chicken is fully cooked. The sauce has got a nice, beautiful consistency. So we're going to proceed to finish this off by adding to that some plain yogurt. Of course, always making sure to add little bits at a time. So that should actually be about 3 tablespoons full. That should actually be enough for that. Now just to finish that off, very, very importantly, a fresh squeeze of some lime will always bring up the flavor and help to balance your spices. So nice squeeze through your sieve, making sure not to add any seeds to your dish. Now proceed to mix that through. And as soon as your yogurt is in and completely absorbed by the sauce, proceed to turn your temperature low completely and finish that off by chopping in some fresh coriander. So I'm going to take a generous handful for that purpose. So very, very simply, proceed to press your coriander to the board, making sure, of course, not to incorporate any of your stalks, and proceed to chop that very finely. Now you can proceed to discard your stalks and finish by adding your coriander to your mixture. Now give that a quick mix, allowing your coriander to permeate its flavors to your dish. And of course, very important to do this at low heat, just to actually allow for you to keep your sauce nice and runny. Allow that little bit of temperature as well to allow for your seasoning to seep right through. And finish off by adding a small dash of black pepper powder, of course, and about a teaspoon of some iodized salt. Now proceed to mix that through with a wooden spoon. nice beautiful balance of flavors from the yogurt, and you can actually begin to actually get that nice beautiful citric aroma there. And now also something to be very wary of. Remember, you should never actually serve a tikka masala when it's actually very watery and very runny. It could actually give you a bit of a runny stomach, so always make sure to really cook your liquid down. Make sure it's very thick, and a very simple checkpoint for that would be as simple as just grab a spoon, dip it into your sauce, and very simply using your finger just draw a line right through the middle. If the line actually holds for anywhere between or anywhere longer than 2 to 3 seconds, then your sauce is thick enough, and you can proceed to turn your heat off completely, and simple as that, you can go straight to serve. So we're going to start off by serving our rice. So with a spoon, just proceed to break up your chunks of rice. And you can actually be able to get that beautiful cumin and jeera aroma coming through, with a hint of garlic, of course, that we added in before that. And you can now proceed to dish your rice in a bowl of choice. Remember, for those of you who just missed out, we introduced the ingredients in the beginning as well, so you can be able to catch up with the show or the episode on YouTube if you missed out on most of it today. Right, so rice in the bowl, that can go straight to your plates. And next up, proceed to grab a ladle. Begin by mixing your dish very, very quickly. And you can actually also look for a nice beautiful bowl to serve that in. Remember, it is quite a very runny consistency, and it's also very handy to actually serve it in a bowl. This will allow for it to actually look a little more presentable when serving. Remember, serving this on a flat plate will actually run right across your plate, giving a very idle kind of appearance, and one that is not very appetizing. So just to finish pouring that into our bowl. And as you can see, as we mentioned earlier, this recipe will actually do a very beautiful portion for one. As you can see, that bowl will actually serve 2 very easily, or 1 large portion, and that can go very, very easily with the rice that we made to go with that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the last and final bit of the show. I will remind you at this point to do check out our Facebook page. There is plenty for you to see. Do actually also leave your comments, inquiries, or any questions pertaining the show. We are more than always glad to hear from you. For those of you who are tuning in from online, do actually scroll down to that little section at the bottom. Leave your comments. Do actually tell us what you think of the show or what you think of the dish. We are more than glad to hear from you. But from the studio and myself, thank you. And until the next episode, have a lovely evening and see you soon.